Then we have a little bit of an oddity, let's say. Wes, tell me about the Atari Lynx, since you have one of these and I do not.
I do. Oh man, the Atari Lynx was. See, I grew up on Atari, so when they came out with a handheld, I was super excited. It's like, okay, I could take my Atari games with me, and it was it, the system itself was a little awkward because it was big. It was much bigger than a Game Boy, but the games graphically were pretty good because just like everything else, it had Ninja Gaiden on there,
Oh man. Now
and it
was this like an NES port of Ninja Gaiden, or was this like the arcade port of Ninja Gaiden, or
it,
just
it
something
was
kind of different?
it was as close to the arcade as you can get on a handheld.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was actually a decent system. It was a decent system. Atari had a bad rap, so it didn't sell as well as they hoped. So it didn't last a long time, a couple years. But
I know that there's a group of collectors that go on the hunt for Lynx games. There's people out there who really do like the Lynx quite a bit.
I enjoy my links. I do. I pull it out every now and then, and it's a decent system, decent graphics, good sound.
I'm gonna have to check it out one day. It's one of the systems I don't have that are handhelds. I mean, I have a few handhelds, but I don't know. Handhelds really have to win me over. I'm very particular about handhelds. I skipped the Lynx,
hmm
and I wanted one, but I didn't get a Game Gear, unfortunately.
I didn't get a Game Gear either.
There was, I was a Sega fan. You were a Sega fan.
hmm
They had games like Sonic 2, NBA Jam, Gunstar Heroes, Shinobi. Wes, how in the hell did I know why I didn't get it? Because I was a little kid and my parents didn't buy it for me. How did you not get a Game Gear? How is
I
that even
don't know.
possible?
I don't know. I wanted a Game Gear. I really did, and I kept putting it off because I was too busy buying other stuff,
Like
and it just
console games or just other things in general?
no, like console games, because it was just I was too busy buying console games, and then the Game Gear came out, and then it was like, well, do I really need one? But do I really need anything that I buy? No,
This is true.
and it. I really wanted one. Didn't it come with a tuner? Wasn't that an option, a TV tuner with the Game
It was
Gear?
a TV tuner. I don't know if you could buy it with it or not. I'm not sure, but it certainly was available. At whether it was built into a certain bundle or if it was sold separately, there was definitely a TV tuner for
TV,
the
yeah.
for the Game Gear.
And the Game Gear had a lot of the Sega titles on it, like a lot of the big ones, like you said, Sonic, NBA Jam. There was Mortal Kombat.
So if you guys are younger and you don't know, this was a huge deal because Nintendo had the Game Boy, which was like just dominating. It was like the first mainstream popular handheld console that you could
hmm
pop cartridges into. So instead of you just having that Tiger Electronic that has one game, and then if you want to play another game, you need another Tiger Electronic to buy. This you could just pop another carton and you have the console. It was in green and yellow. I don't know how else would you describe the screen was like yellow and then the character was like a dark green, right?
For
Game Boy. It
oh,
wasn't really
Game
it
Boy.
wasn't truly black and white. It was like yellow
No,
and green.
it had like the green background with the black dots. Yeah,
There you go.
the graphics were like, yeah, the black dot matrix type
Dot
thing.
matrix. Yes, that's what that was. It says it right on the screen. Game Gear was a big deal because this was in color. This
hmm
was like supposed to beat the crap out of Game Boy because it was in color. And somehow it didn't. Like it did okay, but the Game Boy just remained dominant in its black and white status.
hmm
Crazy.
It it did because you had Tetris and then Mario.
I mean, everybody wanted Tetris, man. Everybody wanted Tetris. All right. Is there anything else you want to say about Game Gear, Wes?
You know what? It was a good alternative to owning a Sega Genesis because all the titles were on there. Shinobi, you said Gunstar Heroes, all the good stuff. Mickey
I would have
games.
had one. I would have had one if I could have got my hands on one. That's for
You
sure.
know, we get one traded in the store every now and then, and to this day I still look at it. It's like, should I pull the trigger? It just sits there, and then somebody else buys it.
You got to get it if you want it, man.
I
But
know.
then The whole problem with buying another console is you got to go back and start buying games for that console, which is exciting, but
which
it's
is exciting.
also an endeavor. You know, it's not like it's not like you're gonna walk into one store and like, oh, they have every Game Gear that I want.
Exactly.
Great. Now we're gonna continue this trend of consoles that I didn't own for a while, so let's just keep rolling with it. Turbo Express was basically like the
Hmm.
Game Gear for TurboGrafx 16, right?
That was it.
The only advantage this had was it'll actually play your Hue card games in the Express, so you don't actually have to go out and buy different games per se.
That's another one I didn't own. I have a TurboGrafx, and I love my TurboGrafx. I never bought an Express.
I would hop on an Express if I saw one for sure. How often do you get these in your store? Like, when's the last time you saw a Turbo Express come in?
Never.
Oh, well, okay, there you go.
Never.
Yeah, they're probably a harder to find item, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, because I'll see a regular TurboGrafx before I see an Express. I've never seen an Express come in.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've seen Turbo Graphics at like conventions and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I don't remember seeing a Turbo Express though. I'm not sure. Now, the next time I go to a convention, that's what I'm going to look for,
But
just to see if I can find it.
yeah, me too. But the funny thing is, just like the Game Gear, that also had a TV tuner.
Oh man,
So like
that's crazy.
taking I guess that was the hot thing at the time. Taking TV
TV on the
on the
go.
go. But like you said, it played the TurboGrafx cue cards, and if you had Splatterhouse or Bonk, or Blazing Lasers, anything for the TurboGrafx, you could take it with you and on the Turbo Express and play it and keep it moving.
And there was tons of great games on the Turbo Graphics. That's what really makes the Express worth having. You can play, you mentioned Bonk already. Alien Crush was like a phenomenal like
Mm-hmm.
digital pinball
Yep.
game. They had a ton of great hits on the shooters for Turbo is like unbelievable. So having the ability to take them with you on the with the Express, come on.
I know. It was good stuff, man. But another console or handheld that took that same philosophy was the Sega Nomad.
This is another thing I remember seeing and being like, dude, that's awesome. It's so cool. But it was gigantic. I mean, this thing was
Yeah.
like,
It played
huge.
the Nomad played actual Sega Genesis games, just like the Turbo Express. It played those games from the console. So did the Nomad. You had to take your Genesis cartridge, pop it in. But I loved my Nomad. But the one thing is that thing ate batteries like there was no tomorrow.
I'd imagine, man. If you have the really basic Game Boy that would just devour 4 batteries in like a few hours, I can only imagine what the Nomad was doing to batteries.
Oh yeah, because it was pushing full color. It was a Genesis. It was a mini Genesis.
It's so
I
crazy.
loved it.
I didn't have one of those either. Again, I was a kid, but something I would have bought for sure. I was a Sega kid like you. I would have been all about the Nomad without a doubt.
Oh, it had the 6-button layout. So Street Fighter run. It was great. Oh yeah,
Hey, you gotta be able to play them fighting games on the go.
on the go.
Now we're gonna get into the biggest black eye Nintendo's ever had. We don't know if you could consider this a handheld. I think Nintendo called it a handheld at the time. I think that's why it's on their list. But the Virtual Boy is it's sort of console, sort of handheld because it sits on like a tripod
Hmm.
and you put your face in it. And it burns your eyes. It has like red dots. It's just that's all that you see. Every color is red. It's all
It
black
was
and
red,
red.
black and red. That was it.
So this thing was known to give people headaches. If you guys weren't aware, people were complaining about headaches from it all the time. It sold horribly. Like I think when they clearanced these things out, they were like $30 at the lowest.
That's when I
Like
bought
you could have
mine.
bought. Yeah, that's insane. I mean, the problem was like when if you were well informed like I was, I knew Virtual Boy was a bomb, and I believe I saw it for like $50, $30, and I was like, I wouldn't spend $1 on that thing. But now looking back, it's like I would have bought that thing for $30. Are you kidding me? Like, why the hell did I buy that for $30? What's wrong with me?
Man, you can't.
But you did.
But you can't blame Nintendo for trying to be innovative.
Oh, I don't.
The concept was interesting. It was cool. It was new. They were trying to toy with the whole virtual reality thing. Playing. I tell you what, those games, because of the perspective of the games, they were hard as heck, man. Mario Tennis, it was almost impossible to play.
Another great reason to earn the Virtual Boy. It's almost impossible to play.
Man, and you had Wario Land for it. There was a bowling game. I mean, there were quite a few games for it, but it was a definitely an acquired taste.
Now this thing had its own controller too, and this thing looks whack. Was it whack or was it all right? Was it okay? Like, how was that weird looking controller for this Virtual Boy?
It was a controller. It was a controller. It was what it was. I didn't hate it. To be honest with you, it felt like a GameCube controller in a sense.
Really?
Yeah, because
the GameCube controller is good.
From what I remember, it had like two handles on it, one on each side. The buttons and the directional. So you had a decent. It felt like a good controller. Just the games, but you're always playing it on a table with face planted in it.
Can you imagine them trying to sell you VR like that today? Like, listen, you can't move around anywhere. Don't even worry about the cable. You just need to sit in front of a table and put your face into this.
Stationary.
And yeah. What the hell, dude? People complain about having people are bitching about the PS5 that's going to have its new PSVR 2 has one cable. People are like, oh my god, that's a cable. To put our heads inside of a thing on top of a table.
On top of a table.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Bitching about one cable. You crazy.
Good old Virtual Boy.
Found in the dumpster near you. Not anymore. People are probably looking after that thing now.
Probably. It's probably going for a hefty penny, too.
It's probably pretty expensive, just because it's sold so poorly, I'd imagine.
I mean,
and it's a Nintendo product.
I had one. I enjoyed it. Unfortunately, I let a family member borrow it, which I went against my own rule, and I never saw it again. And I didn't miss it until I'm like, man, I kind of want to play my Virtual Boy, and I can't.
Hey man, you're from New York. It's how you get your kneecap broken.
Well, I never go against my own rule. Never loan my stuff out. And I was like, well, he's a family member. I can trust him, but oh well.
It happens, man.
It happens.
I told you. I don't know if we were on air when we were talking about that, but I was against letting people borrow my games for a long time. I finally was like, all right, here, you can borrow my Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball on Nintendo 64. Never saw that shit again. What is up with that, man? What is up with that? You're so paranoid when you're finally like, all right, go ahead. And then they just like, this is why, man. This is why.
That's why.
Now let's talk about something that's going to make you a lot happier. I'm positive about this. I don't even know much about this. I know that you know way more than me, but the reason I know you're going to be excited is because it had a lot of good fighting games, and that's the Neo Geo Pocket.
Oh, yeah, man. The Neo Geo Pocket, it was really small, but at the time, anything Neo Geo, I was all about. I love Neo Geo. To this day, I still SNK and Neo Geo. They have a place in my heart, man, because they were like the king of fighter games.
When you would walk into an arcade, you would see that red and white, right?
Yep.
Arcade cabinet, and it was like, all right, well, there's going to be a fighting game on there.
Yep.
Because a lot of them had like multiple like SNK games. At least that's what I remember, anyways. Maybe this was in the later years, but
that was it.
I remember seeing that.
King of Fighters, Fatal Fury, but the Neo Geo Pocket was the fighting games were like the little chibi squatty characters, so they weren't like the normal size
like Metal Slug characters.
Right, they were like the miniature characters, but it played well. Gal Fighters, Metal Slug, which was a side-scrolling shooter. Super hard, but it played great games. if you were a fan of Neo Geo or SNK, you owned one. So the Neo Geo Pocket came out 19. It came out North America August 6th, 1999. Man, it seemed like it was later than that.
It's crazy. But I mean, by then the regular Neo Geo was like definitely dead.
It was it
I
was
mean,
done.
this is on the verge of like Dreamcast. Like Neo Geo definitely wasn't around.
But they definitely went by way of Sega. It's like they stopped making consoles and just concentrated on software. Because we still get Samurai Showdown and King of Fighters, which I just picked up King of Fighters 15. Still haven't played it, but I picked it up.
Now we go back to Nintendo hitting it out of the park again. Game Boy Color releases. Now this is kind of an oddity. This is sort of like a bridge between the Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy, because they wanted to make a color version, but the Advance is really the evolution of this, and the color added color to some of the old games, right? But it was really about the new games that were made for the color. As like, again, this was only out for a few years, and then the Advance came out. So how would you describe this, Wes?
You said it best. It was pretty much a bridge. It had Tetris in color.
It certainly had Tetris.
It had Tetris in color. There. And then you had the Zelda games, which always sold well. But
Link's Awakening had that DX version, which was a better version of Link's Awakening that had like the color graphics and stuff.
Yeah, the graphics were slightly improved. It went from the green and black dot matrix to somewhat regular graphics.
A very basic color palette.
It was, but it was in color.
An improvement, yeah.
It still wasn't Game Boy Advance quality, but again, like you said, it bridged the gap between the dot matrix, Game Boy Advance. We had Game Boy Color in the middle.
Yeah, so Game Boy Color had some other notable titles. When you mention the Game Boy games, the ones that come to mind for me are obviously I mentioned Link's Awakening, the DX version, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons. Those are the two Zelda games that came out, and they were like supposed to be really, really good at the time. I unfortunately never got to play those. Have you checked those out, Wes?
I own them. They haven't played them.
They are still shrink wrapped and probably worth $1,000 a piece at least. So
they're in my collection somewhere. No.
I never had a Game Boy Color, so I never picked them up. Even though I think you could play color games in the GBA, at that point I wasn't going backwards to buy games.